All right, I hit the button. I hit the magic button.
All right, magic button. We've been
Give it a second to make sure it goes across all networks and whatnot. We can chit chat. What's happening? Bima, you're in Laguna.
Yeah, what's up? I'm coming to see you today.
You with the montage, or how you living, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm actually I just hit the Uber in from from LA. I'm staying at the homies. I went to a Lucky Day listening session.
That's a long Uber.
Night.
You did like a LA to Laguna Beach Uber on a Friday morning. Yeah. You're a bold man.
Yeah, bro. Hey, no, it was only 35 minutes. This was quick. I was surprised. This was a 35-minute ride. No, I was in El Segundo. Yeah, I'm in El Segundo.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So LA. Yeah.
LA.
All right, let's go. All right, so I think we by now everything should be all gravy, hunky dory. We got a guest this week. It's the second time we're doing this, and we're already bringing in ultra value. We got behind the scene. We got creative directors. We got founders. Few delivering alpha to this level.
That's right.
We're cooking.
We got special guests today.
So do we want to hit some topics first and then bring in Tim? We want to just bring Tim right in, or what are we thinking?
Tell us what's on the agenda today, Oren. Let the people know what we're chatting about.
We have a massive list. So as you guys know, we put a relentless amount of research, background work. We put the team together to make sure that we have like all the things we need to really, really make this punch. So this week we are talking about Bandit's unsponsored program, and we actually have Tim from Bandit, man, the myth, the legend, here to join us to talk a bit about that. Answer the hard questions about Nike's stock price, discuss who he would have chosen as in an NBA draft as his ideal sponsorship, and then their upcoming Skims collab. And then we have, we're going to talk about Dyson. I think we got to spend some time with, we got a workshop. Ashwinn hasn't heard back from Winnebago, and so we're going to workshop the pitch.
We're going to workshop
the theme.
This is ridiculous.
We got McDonald's launching a new underrepresentation in fashion initiative. We're going to go through that. We're also probably going to hit who we're all voting for in November with talking points right after that. So just want to put that out there for y'all. We're going to go on about launching your news stories with creators. We're going to talk about Gymshark, Liquid Death, Volkswagen and Rivian are signing the deal. We could talk about MIA's tinfoil hat brand, Verizon's rebrand, Ketchup and Kate Spade. We got a list. We're ready to roll. Yeah. If you guys have it, you can drop stuff in the comments if you want us to hit it as well. You can go that, but where should we start?
I was actually going to say we've got South Africa here in the comments. If y'all let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, this would be amazing. Let's start with Bandit so we can utilize Tim's team. Oren will pull it up. Let me tee up the Bandit unsponsored project. Tim, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, stoked to be here.
Tim, how many miles you get in this morning, brother?
Dude, none yet. We were out in Eugene doing some pull-ups this morning. We're going to get a run in after this. The time difference in Eugene's really kicking the East Coast butts, but that's okay.
Are you guys going to hit like an 18 kilometer or like what are you thinking?
Yeah, casual 18, No, there's way too much.
Ashwinn, I woke up, my first thing I had when I woke up, my wife's on Instagram stories like, yo, Ashwinn ran 13 miles at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm like sick. Okay.
Ashwinn, a half marathon once a week is quite savage.
That's
pretty savage.
That's a core routine.
That's amazing. Oren, can you bring up
the challenge?
Yeah.
Can you bring up the unsponsor, any of the visuals here so that we can show y'all? I did a video on this. It happened to go absolutely insane. It's probably the highest viewed video I've ever had, 2.5 million. I think we're about to cross. But there's a genius project here from Bandit. While he's bringing up, I'll tell y'all. It's called the Unsponsored Project. You know what, Tim? You tell us about the Unsponsored Project. I tell you it's genius. It's amazing. Tim, you tell us about it.
Well, Jordan, honestly, you did a better job explaining it than I have most of the time. But, so appreciate that with the video, but and not joking at all. It's really awesome to see you dissect it. But yeah, I mean, Bandit, it's year 2 unsponsored project. The whole thing with running essentially in the track and field spaces. There's a lot of these unsponsored athletes competing on the biggest stage against some of these athletes that are getting paid very well by certain brands, but there's a whole slew of individuals in that post-collegiate space trying to develop as athletes. And we kind of came in with the idea of, hey, how can we support these individuals this year competing at the Olympic trials? Last year it was U.S. Outdoors. Obviously, the Olympics only comes around 4 times a year. And the big insight for us was a lot of these athletes, they're going to retail stores and buying kits to compete in, and they're wearing other brands that are not necessarily paying them or they're getting paid to represent. So we wanted to make it clear, one, that like, hey, don't give out that free ad space, but then 2, You're spending a lot of money on this stuff. We want to be able to support you financially to compete at this stage. And then more than anything, make it clear that these individuals are unaffiliated and are essentially open for business, so to speak. There's a lot of business happening at the trials. So wanted to make that clear. But yeah, we've got 35 individuals this year competing from the field events all the way up to the 10K on the track. It's super exciting and super thankful for the athletes that are part of this, and then you guys for talking about it.
And I'm super curious on that, because I know we have a bunch of experts on the call. I have no idea how that works. You said a bunch of business is done at the trials. So what does that mean? If you're one of these athletes, you're trying to get something done, what kind of size deal is that? What does that look like over the years? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, it's the crazy thing in running where like the 0.01% are getting paid well, essentially by footwear brands. They're getting appearance fees and the like. But running and track and field holistically doesn't have a league. It's really the brands are propping up these individuals financially via sponsorships. So unless you're one of the best in the world, you can get paid, albeit not always super, super well when you're comparing to other leagues or other sports. But then down below that, there's individuals that are on gear deals. There's people getting seeded product, but they're not getting financial support, and traveling to these meets, traveling to Eugene does not cost nothing. It's not the easiest place to get into. A lot of us had some travel issues working for a brand getting here, which is funny. But a lot at the trials, every brand is here. All the agents are here. So a lot of the time what you'll see, the way that the track and field trials work is there's usually rounds leading into a final. Final is the most high visibility moment. And obviously if an individual makes an Olympic team, that's a really powerful story that the public can resonate with the public. They know what the Olympics are. They know what that means. So you see a lot of these negotiations where someone who's in college right now or someone who's unaffiliated right now might go into the last round all of a sudden in a new kit, which is super exciting. And that's one of the big things for us is we really, really want like, hey, the dream is a few of these people get picked up. Last year in 2023, we had someone get signed after the trials, which was super exciting. And I mean, it'd be great if they were Bandit athletes. We don't have sponsored athletes just yet. We're still a young company. But ideally it can get there, which would be really, really cool.
So Jordan or Bima, when do you guys think a company should start signing athletes, right? Like if say you're at the size of a Bandit, you're moving on after that, when should you start developing that team? What does that look like? Do you want to go Olympics? Do you want to go weird? We're doing water polo. What are you thinking?
Well,
I'll defer to Jordan.
Yeah, as a guy who spent a lot of time in college space, I'm really passionate about NIL. And if we go all the way, if y'all want to go deep down this rabbit hole, connecting Winnebagos, Nike, and Eugene, but Prefontaine, like biggest case was against the Olympic Committee not letting amateur athletes make money. And so I think there's a really cool spirit that's been raising up amongst amateur athletes to try to finally get paid. And I love this like creative solve. Like Tim, one of the things I love, we talk about branding a lot. One of the things you need to understand as a brand is who you are, but what are you not? And I work on this with personal brands and brands. And I love that y'all are saying, we're not one of the big brands who can pay you big dollars, but we want to support athletes in our way and what we're capable of. And I just love that part of the strategy is, hey, we want to showcase, and Oren, I don't know if you could find any images from the relays, but the Olympic trials, but when you see just any image of them lined up, it's a bunch of bright colors. And so a lot of people are like, oh, why black? Tim, can you talk to us about the full blackout?
No logo.
Yeah, removing everything and all that. Yeah, I mean, it's twofold for us. Jordan, you just hit the nail on the head. Obviously, these brands, the designers, they're looking bright. They're trying to stand out, especially on television. They want the NBC stream to be like, oh, that's a Nike kit, that's an Adidas kit. So we knew it. And then you also have all these collegiate athletes, which are doing the exact same thing. We knew that all black would be significantly more striking than if we went with a bright color. And then simultaneously, we're a New York brand. We're New York through and through. And everyone that's been in New York knows that all black is kind of the uniform, if you will. So it fits our brand really, really well. And yeah, removing that branding was huge for us as well, because it just makes it that much more striking. If you have a brand logo on there, or some of these other brands have more distinct marks, it's definitely distinguishable, but you kind of get lost in that sea of sameness. And for us, it was like, hey, this all black is really going to stand out, which has been really, really cool to see.
And Bima, you mentioned there was like a 2012 Olympic moment that was like really big around this too. I want you to hop in and talk about that. And for people in the comments, this will be on our YouTube channels saved for FYI. But yeah, Bima, hit that one.
No, yeah, that's a great one. Tim, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you a little bit about the inspiration behind the campaign, because I don't know if you remember in 2012, right? Nike got this big, a lot of PR, because in 2012 Olympics, they did this similar strategy against the color Vault, right? And they put it on all their athletes, and they weren't an official sponsor. And it's all that people could talk about, because I think Adidas had spent like $150 million on that sponsorship. And it was like, it was as if no one knew that it was happening. But one, do you remember it? And was there any inspiration there for this ambush campaign?
Oh man, like I have to give credit there. I was working in a Nike running store in 2012. So we had all the Volt Flyknit racers in the store. And I remember that vividly, of like everyone in the same thing. A lot of soccer inspiration there as well, with like the campaigns that Nike and the other brands have done around the World Cup, with like that specific colorway going into a final where it really is distinctive and stands out more than anything. So yeah, a ton of inspiration pulled from there, a ton of inspiration pulled from I always have to shout out, there was a Morton campaign. Morton's a hydration and nutrition company that has done this kind of like remove the branding from our products so that other athletes can use it. Nike's done it as well with some of their innovation on the footwear front, with removing branding, all white spikes. And for us, yeah, that was definitely some of the stuff that I've always been most excited about in the space. And yeah, as we're scrolling through the Instagram posts, I mean, it is really, really distinctive how much this stands out compared to those other kits. And it is like you're seeing Volt kind of come back from Nike with some of the campaigns that they've had recently. You've seen the brighter colors with some of the other professional uniforms. And for us, it was like, hey, all black is really, really going to stand out. And all black also looks more distinct, unbranded than if it was another color. So just really leaning in it kind of a coming together, if you will.
Was there any nervousness within the team, as far as like, just like, it is vastly different from what was happening with other brands and how they're approaching things in the marketplace. Like you said, we look at everything else and its logos, its bright colors. Was there any nervousness or hesitation from y'all side? Like, if this was going to, I know it was going to serve the athlete, but was it also going to serve your brand, I guess?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of internal conversation. I did not come from running, but when I started working for Nike 10 plus years ago, just got immersed in the running world. And then we have former professional, former collegiate athletes on our marketing team as well. And in those conversations, this is where credit to our leadership team and our design team for really understanding the vision. It did take a lot of internal conversation of, this is where we're at. This is what it's going to look like. Jordan, you mentioned it before, of like when you get to that sponsorship space and when you're working with athletes officially. I think that's on our roadmap. And eventually we will have our brand on athletes, which would be amazing. But a lot of success coming out of 2023, I think, led to the point where our team was ready to pour gas on the fire, if you will, for 2024 and really, really invest in this. And that was huge credit to our entire team of really understanding where we're going with this and why it is so powerful to remove the Bandit branding. I mean, hell, even talking to some of the athletes, some of them were asking if they could get Bandit product, and we're like, hey, like, we're going to do the unbranded stuff. They want to represent, which is awesome. And they're really thankful for this, but we're like, no, we really want to position you guys as these unsponsored athletes. And I think now that it's happening, now that Jordan put that video out, everyone kind of gets it, so to speak.
And so I want to ask one question, and then actually I think we'll pop into the kind of the Jordan video concept as something we want to talk about. And so for the people out there, we have a lot of people listening who are like in marketing and advertising and branding, and they want to learn how campaigns evolve, how these things kind of work. You did this last year, and now you went to this year. How did your thinking change? What did that kind of planning, like the postmortem of last year going into improving this year, what does that look like for a brand like yours?
Yeah, I think the postmortem is the best example. I think last year was super successful. We ended up working with 9 athletes last year, and the consumer focus and the insight that we were hitting on, we knew that resonated, so we didn't need to change there. But the big thing for us last year, we came out with just tops. We had crops and singlets. And then we also were working on a much more condensed timeline. We're still an 11-person team and a 3-person marketing team. So we kind of came out here not shooting from the hip. We knew what we were doing, but the idea was we're going to have a lot of conversations when we're out here, and it worked. But getting in front of athletes in this competition moment was one of those things that we really realized, like, hey, we need to get in front of athletes earlier. So as the descending order lists were coming out, as performance was happening early this year, the biggest change for us was, one, we want to get in front of athletes really, really early. So opening up those lines of communication, honestly, through Instagram DMs is how we did it. That was a huge one. And then the other big one was just knowing that having a little bit more volume would bring a little bit more power to this campaign. So we, from like a budget allocation perspective, instead of looking at the 10 athlete range, we started looking at that, like we were talking 25 to 30 would have been that sweet spot. And then it kind of gained steam, and we were able to be really, really nimble as a company and open up more budget, make sure that we had enough product to get everything on these athletes. We evolved it, more tops, more bottoms, but then we also incorporated, those competition bottoms this year to create the full distinct look. A few athletes had unbranded bottoms last year, but the majority were kind of still having that issue of having an Adidas logo, having a Puma logo, whatever it might be. So that was the big evolution. And then how we story told it was another big one. We did some storytelling leading in. We had a lot of success with this for the Olympic trials and the marathon, which happened in early February. So we kind of took that learning into this to kind of prime our audience for what we were going to be doing. They're primarily a road running crowd, and the track and field world, while their similarities, is different. So we needed to kind of storytell and educate our audience more than anything. And I think that's why we've seen so much success with this so far. Of people are invested in it. They're invested in these stories. They're excited about it. And we've still got 3 days of it, which is crazy to say out loud because I'm still in Eugene right now, but a little bit longer.
and Tim, I think the campaign is awesome, and I think you covered a lot of really interesting ground here. But one thing that stood out to me is you said last year we did the campaign and it was successful. And this is more for a question of everyone who works in marketing teams, small and large. There's always this question of like, hey, there's a campaign that's really strong and interesting, and it's like happening kind of like in the real world. There's no like core tracking back to Bandit as the brand. Like it's actually the opposite. We're removing Bandit. So to those people who might ask the question of like, oh, how do you measure the success of this? How do you guys think about that? I'd love to know some of your thought process there.
Yeah, the biggest KPIs for us here are all PR related, and we're not at that size yet where we're tracking on the back end what those like impressions from a third party PR hit might be. But we saw doors getting open pretty massively with various PR platforms and the traditional media outlets that we never really seen our brand being talked about on there before. And then bigger than anything for us, and it bleeds exactly into what you were saying. It's not a like traditional KPI that you can put on paper and be like, that's awesome. But the number of partnership conversations, investor conversations, just individual conversations with people within the industry that we really look up to and respect from every position within a company. A lot of it came back to like, hey, I saw what you guys were doing at the US Outdoors in Eugene last year. Like that was super, super cool. Would love to have a conversation. And I think our team kind of recognized, and again, it's credit to our team that's really looking at those KPIs very, very specifically as we try and grow as a company, of being like, oh, this got a lot of traction, even though we can't necessarily measure it. Let's really, really try and look at it harder. And then there are traditional ones that we can kind of look at to see if we're getting traction. The Bandit searches on Google are a big one. Our website sessions are a big one as well. But it was really one of those brand marketing campaigns where we're not selling product. We're not having revenue goals attached to this. It's really like, hey, how can we get in front of a new audience? And there's kind of ways to measure it, which is helpful, but then we have to have that faith and trust that this is like a brand building process. And it was good that we had a year between the two campaigns where we could see the fruits of it 2, 3, 4 months after US Outdoors last year, because if we had looked at it a week after, it wouldn't have felt as strong as it did when we got a little bit further removed. So that was really, really helpful for this year as well.
All right, Tim, you've been super generous with your time. We know you got to get to the Olympic trials. You're in literally Eugene right now.
Yeah, he might just run. He might throw something on. Someone sprains an ankle. You know, something goes awry. Someone tests positive for steroids. Tim might just get in there, repping USA. You know,
take that logo off your shirt and you'll be ready. Hey, Tim, real quick, you are leading marketing for a really cool brand in New York. You've spent time at Nike. Talk to a quick career advice for a lot of aspiring marketers that we have here. How did you find yourself in this position, or what advice would you give to some younger people who are looking to do cool things like this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, was I thought I was going to go to law school. I did go to law school very briefly. I dropped out of college and very quickly realized where my passions actually lay and got really into the running world and learned that world really, really deeply. And that was really what has led me to where I am now. But at the same time, I think the biggest piece of advice in looking at jobs and looking at the kind of next steps, the biggest thing in this goes to people who have really given me some really awesome advice. A lot of mentors within my space was looking at jobs as what experience can I gain from it. I've bounced in and out of running because I needed to get better at as a marketer in spaces that I was not as much of an expert in. And I think with those experiences and being able to work in lifestyle, on basketball, and all these spaces that I'm familiar with, but not as deep in the culture of it, bringing those tangible skills as a marketer back into the running world for me has been what's really unlocked it, to be able to marry the two of now I don't need to dig as hard to learn those consumer insights and really know the audience, because I just know it as a person with my life within the running space. And bringing that into what I'm doing now is super exciting. So yeah, I mean, it's great to know a sport or a category or whatever you call it, but you also do need to have those tangible skills and be able to develop as a marketer to be able to do both in the space that you want to be in.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for your time. Y'all follow at Tim Rossi. Go check him out on LinkedIn if you want to see his career path. It's a really cool one. Follow at Bandit Running.
Yeah, if you want some great lightweight shorts, I run the Bandits all the time. They're excellent. You know, and the 10 out of 10 user experience. Let's go.
Hey, Tim.
Are you guys selling the unbranded gear?
Yeah.
That's it. We're working on that right now. You know,
right now we like to keep the logo as part of the process. It's understood.
We're all tight now. We might have a few singlets left over. You guys should need them after this.
Now, Tim, you got to make it brown for me. You got to make it brown for me.
They'll send you a short.
We got you. I got you. Appreciate it, though, guys.
Thanks, Tim. Oh, that was great.
Back to it. And so maybe we hit right here. I appreciate everyone who go give Tim Bandit Running a follow. But let's pop right into these topics. I want to go right into, so look, Jordan's video covering this campaign is at what, 3 million views now, Jordan?
2.5.
Big Jordan.
Yeah,
Big
probably,
Jordan.
That's the PR.
Okay. That's the PR right there.
PR.
300.
You were not contracted by Bandit to do this. We've all been in this scenario, right? Ashwinn's given 6 million views to Pepsi. You know, Bima's keeping Nike stock alive single-handedly. Like what? We've all put millions of views out for these brands. How should brands be considering involving creators in this process? And quick context, I've had 2 brands that have paid me to help debut a thing, right? To talk about a press release, do whatever. One was a campaign they were trying to salvage some PR for. One was one where they were trying to lead with something strong. And I think it's just a great idea that you're doing much more of. What do y'all think? Yeah, what does that look like? Strategy around it?
Ooh, I got to jump on that right now. One thing I'll tell you right now is everybody should be paying attention to what Instagram's doing right now. With their comms approach, right? And so if you've been looking, like Mark Zuckerberg and his head of Instagram have actually been doing a lot of PR specifically with creators, not necessarily going to traditional public media publications. They're going to creators. And the reason that I believe they're actually doing that is, one, it's good for their business. So if it's good for their business, it's likely good for other businesses as well. The other thing that I think is so great about it, which you already articulated, Oren, was if you have a organic and honest moment like what Jordan was able to accomplish with Bandit, that it comes across so much more authentic, I believe, to a consumer or a customer that's paying attention, right? Versus it going through some bland, boring ass press release that is just a generic article that no one cares about. To me, this is a shift that if folks aren't doing and making those shifts, or even also creating specific press materials for creators to create videos like this, you're missing such a wave. That's just my opinion.
And I don't want to go rant against the mainstream media here. And again, we'll get into voting later on in this Kage. But I feel like the legacy media has zero. They have their own agenda on everything, right? And that agenda is often like get affiliate clicks. And obviously we have an agenda to get views or, to like secure sponsorship deals or whatever that looks like. But there is just such a like critical nature, and especially when it comes to marketing or branding or any of that, or lack of nuance around understanding it. That's always been my biggest critique of trying to use PR as a tool, is that they don't understand your niche. They don't understand your target demographic. They don't understand the techniques you're using to do that. And they're supposed to help tell your story. And so that's just giving someone unequipped without a tools, who just happens to have a platform that's like shrinking, a reason to have that combo, when you should enable people that can speak your language with an audience that understands what you're trying to say to tell your story instead. And that's like the most democratized option we have currently.
100%. I think what has been interesting, and Oren, I know you kind of sounded the horn on how brands need to be thinking about approaching creators and having creators kind of amplify whatever they're doing within their specific niches. But what's interesting is I don't know when you made that video. It's kind of like months ago, but we've all been talking about this in various ways, like at least over the past year. And I think what's interesting is probably in the last couple of weeks, there have been 2 separate brands who are running campaigns or collaborations or rolling stuff out. And they're like, hey, we would love it if you could just talk about this, right? And there's really no guidelines. Like, you can give your own thoughts on it. And I think that is the right way to do it. Not like, hey, talk about this campaign that we did with X, Y, and Z and like say good things about it. Cause like, I'm not going to do that. And the audience doesn't want to hear that. But if I can go in and be like, hey, this is what they did. This is what I think is good. Here's actually how I build on it, right? Because that's so natural to the type of content that I create. You just get a ton more reach with it. And that is like, it's meeting people where they are. It's like entertainment value content, slightly, informative, educational. You meet people on the platforms where they are consuming content right now. And it's like, I don't know who's just clicking through to that article to just like read a summary of the PR newswire.
Well, and that goes for video content too. And I do want to, if you're working a brand and you're trying to approach creators about this, I want to give some context. So we really care about performance, right? Like all of us, we want our videos, and really we don't care about it doesn't have to go viral. We just don't want it to be the worst content that we put out that week, right? That's really the goal, right? We don't want something and so people are always like, hey, talk about this, talk about that. And look, if there's something exciting, like Jordan knows, he's like, look, this Bandit running thing, like this, he probably thought that was going to be like, this will be a solid video for me. Maybe it goes huge, but he knows it's going to work in his niche. When I do a video about like Porsche house paint, I know it's going to work. I did a video about Clue coffee packaging today. I know it'll be decent, but I also know when it's not. And so I think what a lot of creators need to look at is basically developing a format that lets them talk about things in their niche that also aren't like, hey, I'm going to go charge you, some large amount to go do a dedicated video. But like, I'm doing this basically like a weekend branding thing. I don't do it every week, but I do it occasionally. That gives me like the ability to have a sentence or two about headlines that are interesting. And I think that if you're a brand, like finding creators that do stuff like that and who talk about announcements or who have formats to review it or to do things like lives like we do is a really important thing. So you can see, where does my announcement really slot in? And if you're a creator and you want to join this economy, you need to be developing the methods with which people can see that, because dedicated video is going to be a hard one because a lot of announcements just aren't worthy of it. It's going to flop. So having a live like we do where we talk about news, or having a format where you can talk through headlines, or thinking through the right way to represent that for you is really important.
And it's got to be something like one of the things you pointed out, Oren, it has to be something worth talking about, right? Like just because you're doing something or something's happening with the brand, I think as creators, we also have to be very discerning about like, this might be interesting or this might be something that a brand did, but that doesn't mean that it's actually something that works for our channel or it even is meaningful to the audience. And I think just to double back on the Bandit thing, the reason why that video is of interest is because it's not happening anywhere else in the marketplace, right? And that's the whole point when we think about branding and marketing, is like, you're fighting for attention. And if you just go out and do the same stuff every week that every other brand is doing, why would I want to make a video about that? My audience cares about new things, right? They care about innovation, creativity, right? Instead of just being optimized and being like, oh, there's a new press release out.
So someone was asking, Benedict was asking, Ashwinn, I'll throw you this one. What are the ways you guys keep up with what's going on currently in branding and marketing?
I think so. Listen, for me, I have an agency and I have a couple of brands that I'm operating. So it's like, I'm just in it every day. I'm having these conversations. I'm like paying attention to like the brands and the packaging and the marketing, because like just my outputs kind of depend on it. And so I know that's probably not the most helpful answer for someone who is not in that space, right, or in that position. But how I would think about it is like, what are the brands that people are talking about? I mean, frankly, you're probably following the four of us here. We cover a pretty good breadth of brands, but like, take Jordan's Bandit example take Jordan's Bandit video, for example. Bandit is like still a kind of smaller niche brand in one community. Jordan put a lot of exposure on that brand and what they're doing. And so you watch a video like his and it's like, hey, I not only know what they're doing, but now I can go watch their content and I know why it was interesting. Okay, that like turns me onto something. Oren always talks about, not always, but like talks about a lot of kind of like niche, like non-mainstream brands and packaging that's really interesting, has like great takes on them. Bima talks about like the science of collabs. And so you start to understand how people think about these things who have that industry experience. And then you can go follow those brands and just like watch what they're doing, keep an eye on what's interesting.
And I think real quick, one of the biggest things I think has been helpful, like, because I'm in this weird position, I have like a team. And so there's people like feeding me ideas and stuff, which is helpful. But the real sauce is the group chats. And like, so we have a group chat. I have a group chat with, we have a big creator group chat that's even larger than this. I have design group chats. I have specific fashion group chats. Now I actually make it a point with the internationals. I have like an international group chat where I got like friends from China. I have all the designers in the EU. And I literally, the only request is like share shit. I just want to see what you guys are into. And I think that's the biggest one, is like the group chat is key. And also like, if you see other creatives, especially if they're at your size, like we all are kind of in chats because we're all growing creators, right? So we share one, but if you have 1,000 followers or whatever, find 5 other people talking about what you talk about and just like start the Instagram DM group. Our Instagram chat is just us being like, you see this, you see this, you see this. And that is a wonderful experience to consume media because it's curated by people that really care about the same things you do.
Oren, I want to jump in on a question. Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
Well, that'll be a segue here in a minute of the Liquid Death campaign that y'all sent me, where I literally laughed out loud last night and got a cramp in my rib from how amazing it is. But please, Bima, go ahead and answer the question first.
So that's a good point, right? And so the question was, what's the litmus test to discern what's relevant and worth talking about, right? And for me, it's very, it's much more an emotional thing, right? It's not for me so much of a statistical or analytical thing. For me, the litmus test is if I put this in one of my trusted group chats, and it gets an emotional response, like Jordan just said, where they laughed at it, or they keep talking about it, or they keep coming back to it, then chances are, so is the rest of the marketplace. So are other people, right? And so, one, if you have a group chat where you actually trust the opinions of the people that are in there, that's one of the ways that you do it. But to me, if it doesn't have emotional response, there's no point in talking about it. And that's probably the death knell for any marketing campaign if no one wants to talk about it at all. Not if it's bad, not if it's good. If they don't want to talk about it at all, that's horrible.
See, I run a lot on Twitter. Like my video today, I wasn't going to make a video about that brand, but the tweet got, a couple 100,000 impressions. It blew up. And I was like, okay, sick. If people are starting a conversation, so I'll throw stuff out there all the time. And if a conversation starts around the topic, I'll go make a video on Instagram. So that's an easy one to go validate too. Quick, I'm gonna throw this one to Ashwinn just because this is right up your alley. How would you guys think about branding a D2C waste company, most specifically in the dumpster and junk hauling space?
So that's an interesting one. My first question would be like, what does D2C in this context mean, right? Are you like, they do waste and junk hauling, or are you just like checking out online? It's like, I'm a commercial building and it's like, dude, I need an $18,000 a month contract for you to take my stuff.
Come on, you're asking for too much info. What's the campaign look
like?
All
right, so listen, here's what we're going with, right? If you look at everything in that space, like probably the best brand that stood out to me is like junk luggers, and on the side it's just like a guy on the truck like hauling away junk. But if you look at kind of all of the brands in that space, right, they're going to be kind of these like legacy operators who are just like, they've been around for a while, they make a lot of money, there's no real need to innovate because they have these like long-term contracts doing this stuff. I would take an approach. I talk about Piece of Cake Moving a lot because they have these pink trucks in New York, and it's just like, it's a great name. They stand out. They have these moving billboards all across the city. I would just like, okay, if every truck is white and like called like remove your junk, okay, let's make our trucks bright orange and let's call it something else, right? Because we're going to get so much coverage from just being in the street doing the job. Let's look a little different, grab that attention, and start building based on that.
Let me add to this, Ashwinn. I think we've got people asking like it's heavily regulated, or you might have HOAs. This guy says that Connor says they're selling small dumpsters to homeowners. So what are the objections that people are going to face to this, right? Oh, I don't want a nasty dumpster outside my home or whatever. What if we made them look like flowers and art? Like, what if a dumpster, how do you take a different canvas and put it on top of art? How do you make it like a beautiful
times dumpster? Saying like, let's go. No, that's a good point.
Just LVMH.
Oh my God.
Luxury dumpsters. Yeah, this is the next step. Balenciaga.
Speaking of
Balenciaga,
we had the Dyson on here as one of the next ones that we were going to hit on. The crazy Dyson headphone foot. What did y'all want to hit there?
Oh my God!
Speaking of insane product,
what was it? Dyson. Oh, it was headphones. It was a connection to our last week's discussion where we were debating Beats versus Bose and showing some love to Skull Candy. But people came in and said, hey, how about Dyson is bringing it with some crazy air purifiers on your face, headphones on your ears while vacuuming the house. Who knew Dyson could do it all?
Is it too much?
Yeah, that's a kind of crazy one. It came out, it was like right off the heels of COVID, but like a year and a half too late, and probably like 3 times more than it could be. And there's a lot of questions about the effectiveness of it, but it's this kind of weird thing where it's like, you have these headphones, but then it has this air purifier attachment. So these like 2 very bizarre things to mash up from a brand that's traditionally known for its vacuum cleaners. So there's like so many questions around the strategy of this that
it's
I
1.3 pounds. It's $949.
Guys,
this is a stunt. This is
gonna go.
Is this product as marketing? Well, because Dyson isn't exactly like
this is product marketing. Yeah, this is product marketing. You're gonna walk around looking like you're going.
Like they're European. Maybe Europeans, like, Europeans got, they're like, oh, this is sick. Like, this is going to crush in Norwegia,
You know what? I made a video on this, just kind of like roasting it when it first came out. And there were a lot of comments that were like, hey, I could actually see this doing really well in Asia. I could see this, like, I live in Beijing or I live in Hong Kong. This could do really well there. I've never been to Hong Kong or Beijing. I cannot speak to like the local kind of like technological, like, cultural adaptation.
Maybe it's just marketing for the headphones, because that could be fair. That could work in Asia. It's a track there. They're looking like they're just selling the headphone version. Maybe it was just a marketing stunt to get attention for this product line, which truly makes no sense in their product lineup.
It makes no sense,
especially from a Dyson is like a legendary design methodology, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for them to be like, cool, we're going to release this competitive headphone.
We have 900 people watching here. Everyone owns headphones. If there's one person
owns Dyson
who has a Dyson headphone, let us know.
Drop it in the comments. I wonder if this is like a time capsule, if we go back on like the worst of 2020, 2021, where we thought people would be sitting at a laptop forever with air purifying masks. And that's what we thought our dystopia was in the future. Thank God that we're here, not doing that.
There's a comment in here that we should actually talk about, and it says, Dyson is in the market of air. This marketing stunt is to show innovation. Did they do it well?
Yeah.
The international market, we're so spoiled in the US where it's like whatever. Whereas like, I don't know, like everyone was wearing masks in Japan long before COVID, right? Like on the subway or on the whatever constantly. And so we're also very blessed to be like, yeah, who would ever use that? And while people live in like polluted cities across the world,
Yeah, touche.
Bima should have been wearing it in El Segundo this morning, not gonna lie. But
oh my God.
y'all have the air in El Segundo. I'm just saying.
Oren's in Orange County, but Bima should be wearing that mask.
As soon as you drive, if you haven't been on the Orange County, if you haven't gone the descent from LA and Orange County, 2 things. First, as soon as you cross over the county line, because everything just gets nicer. The streets are clean, the bridges start to pop up, people start to smile more, the sun comes out a bit. And then there's a billboard that as you go into Orange County that just says, "We prosecute in Orange County," and it's like a message from the DA that like, hey, guess what? Like, you're no longer in Los Angeles, anymore. Like,
guys,
you will go to jail for that bullshit.
Yeah, I drove from Dallas to Austin a couple days ago and took a few pictures of billboards. I thought they would make for great Winnebago story content. I'll send them through, but there are some very entertaining ones. I'll tell you that much.
Love it. Please do.
So we can hard transition here. Bima, you want to go in on the McDonald's initiative you did a video about?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, pull this up, Oren. So here's the thing. Y'all know what McDonald's is. We all know what McDonald's is. It's, chicken nuggets that aren't maybe they're chicken, maybe they're not. It's French fries, maybe they're potatoes, maybe they're not. And
the Grimace shake. It's the Grimace shake.
It's the Grimace shake. It can't be called a milkshake because there's no milk in it. So it's shakes, you know what I'm saying? And so McDonald's decides they want to partner and collab to do a fashion initiative with emerging Black designers. And for the life of me, I just don't understand why McDonald's wants to be in fashion or why they think it makes sense for them to be in fashion, irrelevant of the fact that it's a diversity initiative and that it's Black designers. Any designers from any background. Why does this make any sense for McDonald's to be in fashion?
They've had
this clock collab kind of popped.
And Joe Fresh Goods, they've done. Who else have they done? Travis Scott. I mean,
they did whatever this is. Wasn't Travis Scott Burger King, brother?
Oh gosh, he was. Sorry, the
Burger
Wars.
Travis Scott. No, Travis Scott was McDonald's.
Okay, yeah.
Damn right. There.
Yeah. Oren, don't make me second guess myself here.
My fast food collab knowledge is, as a partaker in the Southern California wellness lifestyle. they had this
Where's the
vein,
acai
all
bowl
right, keep
collab?
going. We'll go back to it.
Who collabed with the Green Juice Company lately? That's what we really need.
This just seems desperate for me. Like there's a ton of other things that McDonald's could be a part of from a cultural standpoint. They want to be relevant. They want to do these things, have fun, connect with a younger consumer. But here's the other thing that I don't get about that whole thing is the fact that this is supposed to be a diversity initiative for them in the Black community. And if that's what they wanted to do, which is totally fine, why not focus on actual impact? You know what I mean? Like, why not actually?
So there is a note in the comments. The former McDonald's CMO made a financial commitment before she left. This is just rolling out a commitment so they don't face backlash.
You can face backlash anyway. You McDonald's.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Y'all fucked up for a long time.
McFashion.
I've been fucked up. All right. The Grimace Shake. You may have won over Gen Z with the Grimace Challenge, but you've lost our hearts and souls.
Oh my God.
Yo, I mean, so I would look, Bima, I think it's like, okay, you could support people in making more fashion, but like, what if you gave them some equity and ownership? There's a lot of, you could make a play on the equity word here. There's a lot of, if this is an equity play and we're trying to bring equity, why don't we give them some equity in actual franchises? Or,
love that idea.
Let's get some teeth to this and not make it just the surface level fashion, stunt, right?
I mean, fashion loses money. Go ahead, Ashwinn.
No, I was going to say, I think your video analysis on this was really good in terms of talking about the numbers, right? Where it's like they're giving these creators like $50,000 to run these businesses, which are like extremely tough to like get off the ground, sustain, sell product, make any dollars. Like most apparel businesses are really kind of like going nowhere. They're a very challenging business to run. And you're like, listen, the average like McDonald's franchise owner makes $150K a year. And then like X% of them are owned by Black people. So
yeah.
Why don't we do something that's like such a natural fit that is actually of economic value to them with a proven business model where there is demand for the product instead of just making more T-shirts?
Yeah. Chick-fil-A has until Sunday to respond. I'm just saying.
Chick-fil-A gonna run it.
They'll respond on Monday though. They're closed on Sunday.
Not Sunday. Not Sunday.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give a shout out to Chick-fil-A real quick. I worked a lot of bad fast food jobs. Like my Chick-fil-A job, not only was I paid well, and I had a lunch card for the food court we were in, and they were like the dude was like a mentor. Like everyone's Mormon. Right? They gave us food at the end of the day. Us and then all the line cooks like all went home with food. Excellent fast food job. Always motivating. Shout out, good for Chick-fil-A.
Hey,
McDonald's is not like that. I got fired from McDonald's in 4 days.
You got fired from McDonald's? Damn.
Yeah. We hotbox the freezer, brother. It is what it is. Real life tales out here. Yeah, so I got fired from Abercrombie too, but
was that pre or post legalization in California, Oren?
Oh yeah, far free.
Statute of limitation.
Hey, also next week we'll have to talk about the race for coffee, cold brew coffee and sport.
Is that Beekeeper Naturals?
This is Beekeeper. No, well, it's
shout out to Creech.
It's a David Creech, former Jordan Brand.
Is that a crossover with the Jason Statham Beekeeper franchise? Or
it's not apparently. PR from who are Clutch Athletics. Rich Paul is an investor in this. Anyway, we can talk about the coffee, but Patrick Mahomes just released a coffee. Oren, I think you did a video on it.
I did, yes. Sport coffee, and I was like, when I was like, Athletic Beans was right there.
Athletic Beans.
Athletic Beans.
That's why they called me, brother. You know what I'm saying? You gotta just. It would have been absolute smash. Instead we got sport coffee.
So good.
All right.
Let's go to liquid death.
We can move into one of these other. I know we have hella topics here, but that was a good one. We mentioned Rich Paul, so I feel like we have to do the NBA draft. Winnebago, how do you feel about the top 5 picks?
I'll tell you how out of the loop I am. Right, I'm seeing tweets where it's like, "Damn, LeBron slept with his teammate's mom," and I'm like, "Oh, damn."
Oh wow!
Oh my God!
I want to see some. So we have you guys were trying to explain how this was like some like power Nike.
Oh, bro.
I don't know. This is out of the zone here. I really only pay attention to collegiate lacrosse. So what do we like? How does this work? What are we doing here?
If you guys don't know, LeBron James is the most powerful man in the NBA. The man
what does that mean? What does that power get you?
Okay, so first of all, he sort of helped usher in this like athlete empowerment era, which I am a full believer in. He started a media company, Uninterrupted. He's got all kinds of investments. They do the shop, all these things. So that's a public facing. But he is so powerful because for 10 years, if you had LeBron James on your team, you literally would go to the NBA finals no matter what. You may not win that finals championship, but it guaranteed you got there. So he had incredible bargaining power, which meant if he didn't like the coach, that coach was out, because he makes $30 million a year, 35. It's all the way up to like 50 now. But and that coach is getting paid maybe 5. So you just look at the salary. That's who has the power. He has Rich Paul. Speaking of Rich Paul, he has the most powerful agent in sports. So he would utilize his agent, who could go negotiate with his buddy if he was like, I want to play basketball with my buddy. So they might bring a buddy in that maybe isn't the best like salary cap move or whatnot, but actually LeBron gets happy, and that way they get to keep LeBron because LeBron sells tickets and LeBron will get you the finals. So 5 years ago or so, I started to hear this first rumor that LeBron, because people have been talking about him retiring for years. And the grand master plan was that he wanted Bronny to make it to the NBA so he could play at least 1 year with his son. And then he would like go off into the distance and drop the mic. And I'll be damned if that man has not completely orchestrated this. Depending on where you are, a lot of people think Bronny has earned it. I don't know how many people think that, a guy who averaged 4 points per game in college is a, second round pick to the Lakers, but he's there. So now we've got a father and son duo in the NBA for the first time.
I just can't wait to see the first collab or campaign or etc. around this.
So Nike already had a campaign together. That campaign seemed pretty limp to me.
No. I wouldn't say that was a campaign. I would say that's just like a quick messaging.
All right, you want to give a quick breakdown to people of what came out?
Yeah, I think the only thing I saw that came from the Nike side, right? Well, actually, multiple brand partners did something, but Nike put out a two photo carousel, was it, right? And there's like, if we could find it, there's actually like a quote on one side, something about pressure. It was never about pressure. What was the other side of that quote? Yeah.
I hopped off the ability to share
on Instagram. Jordan's got it. And so they had already like came with their response, and then the other thing was Beats put out a response, and then Translation, who also works with LeBron and his multiple IPs, also put out a message. There it is, right there. It says pressure was never a question, right? Lil Bronny, when passion has always been the answer. So it's something light. It's light work to be a part of the conversation. Jordan, would you say it's anything deeper than that? You're on mute. You're on mute, brother.
My bad. You can whip that up in 5 minutes, throw a little Palatino font on that, make it black and white. And you've got, here's a couple AP images. Grab one from his high school, grab one from USC. And then this one was a little confusing to me. Shout out to Settlemeyer's Jackets, who's producing all these out of Portland. They're amazing. They do all these varsity jackets. That's a topic for a different discussion. But so they're just showing some love for him.
So I do want to something else related to the draft, just because I don't know if you guys are going to educate during this series. But all right, so say we were a brand, worth it to try to sponsor somebody in the draft, especially someone like 10 or lower or anything. Like, what actually makes it work? Like, what would be what would be a good strategy? Like, what should you be thinking about? Like, who should consider it? Like, what would that cost?
Well, it cost you a lot of money a top 10 pick, but
below 10. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say like do you mean like worse than 10 or above 10?
Yeah. Honestly, what would you do if you were a brand? Say you're a Bandit sized brand in a doing some sort of athletic apparel or whatever it is, or you have a supplement. Like, when should you consider it or not? Like, what would work?
Well, the landscape has changed so much with NIL. So for people who don't know, college athletes have had their wages restricted for about 100 years, and now they're finally able to make money. In fact, they will be making money directly from their college when this new legislation just passed. So each college now has a $20 million salary cap. This is like late breaking news in the last couple of months. And so to answer your question, Oren, I wouldn't be at the NBA draft. I would be at AAU high schools, because now there's 36 states who allow high school athletes to get brand deals. In fact, Adidas just launched a documentary series on a high school athlete for the first time, and I can pull that up. But so I would be at high schools scouting, and brands have been doing this for a very long time. They are in the AAU space. They're the only reason that these high school tournaments are being sponsored by these sneaker brands is because it gives them an early access to these athletes, and they can develop that relationship. So this film that you're looking at right here is a documentary on a kid who's still in high school. And it's a real like watershed moment in the sort of sneaker wars, because they've been all these kind of third-party ways of trying to get to these young men and women, and now they're just able to do it up front, and I'm really here for it, to be honest. There's obviously trade-offs, but I would much rather this kid and his family make this money than a bunch of AAU coaches and, you know, tournament directors and whatnot who are trying to funnel the money in the old shady ways that business works. But we don't have time for
that. Facts.
All right, we gotta go ahead, Biba.
No, I was gonna say we should keep going. We only got a little bit more time left. Oren's over here on some grand adventure.
I'm in the Cybertruck. I'm heading on the next adventure. We're going to do this. We're going to do this together. But we got plenty more topics. I mean, do we want to workshop Winnebago right now?
Oh, let's
go,
Ashwinn.
All right. So here's the recap of the Winnebago thing. So this started first as a joke where a lot of people say, hey, I have such a hard time. So my handle is Schwinnebago on Instagram and TikTok. And that has just been a nickname that has just kind of like stuck over the time. I created the Instagram handle, didn't think it was going to be this like serious thing. Now it's a serious thing. And I'm like, oh shit, I can't change it. That's the name now. So people say, hey, it's really hard to remember your name. Where does this even come from? So my name is Ashwinn. And then there's obviously the legacy RV brand Winnebago's iconic American establishment. So I'm like, we got to put these two together. So I'm like, I need to build up my brand and I need to build up Winnebago with a campaign with them. And as I start doing some digging, I find out that Winnebago back in the 70s had this guy called the Winnebago Man. And he was this like, he was their marketing guy, but really funny because he would have these like just absolutely enraged moments where he just freaks out and is like cursing like crazy on the video, talking about these Winnebagos. So I'm making a video and I'm like, hey, we got it. Yeah, here we go.
Oh my God, let's watch this. At least a little bit of it.
A multifunctional bathroom. Privacy, I don't know what the fuck I'm reading. I wonder what the fuck the real dialogue is. What the fuck is this thing? All of the windshield, for fuck's sake. Oh, fuck. What the fuck did I say? That didn't sound for shit, did it? And
okay. So this, right? When was the last time anyone has seen any advertising or thought about Winnebago, right? Their brands, their reviews.
Now?
It's like it's just like it's a dated kind of design. And listen, I understand they're hitting this kind of like older market, they're hitting boomers, but that demographic's only going to be around and RVing for so long. You have to hit this next generation. And the next generation, we're big on van life, we're big on working remote, we're big on these like Mercedes Sprinter vans that are like way too aggressive for most people's needs.
Too aggressive.
And so I'm like,
the next generation is primed for it. Gen Z is probably, they can't afford anything. They want to go see all the national parks. Let's go.
We're just going to be living. We're not traveling to Europe anymore. We're living in a Winnebago and we're hitting the country, right? So you take a concept like the Winnebago Man, which is just primed for social. And I think there's a nice tie-in for.
Bro, if he had just hit the gritty in that video, it would have been over.
While drinking a Grimace shake, like it would have been just primed for TikTok.
Yeah. Yo, there was. I remember I was in New Zealand. I was roaming around the south of New Zealand, and apparently in New Zealand every year, like RVs are like a thing. Every family has an RV. Their vacation, they get hella vacation time each year. They get like a week a quarter or something like that. And all of them take the RVs all around New Zealand because you can go from climate to climate, like literally all around. And it's like part of the culture. And I was like, man, like RVs are certainly a part of US culture, but not like in that regard where like young families are constantly RVing every year. And it totally should be. We have so many beautiful national parks, so many cities. RVing is actually relatively area right across Winnebago. And how can we help bring that to fruition?
I think that's a really interesting idea. And I'm curious, like, it feels like it was a part of American culture, just like road tripping and like RVing. There used to be just like movies about it, right? Like there was a movie called RV with like Robin Williams, right? It's like not that foreign of a concept. It was like really common. We've like great national parks. We've so much in just like the heart of the country and the coast and everywhere. And yeah, I think there's a resurgence that could completely make. I mean, it's already kind of there with like van life and people touring and like seeing these amazing destinations and working remote. And so like, how can Winnebago just like tap into these like cultural trends and moments and not just be a brand that is identified with like, that's a brief, like
Ashwinn, I got to ask you, why do you think they aren't doing anything about it? I think, because to me, like everything you're saying, it makes a ton of sense. And we've been seeing this since pandemic and before and all these shifts. So, I'm curious, like, why aren't they doing anything?
Here's what's interesting to me. So I obviously talk about a lot of different brands and will like sometimes pitch campaigns for them. Like I, had this, thought for Nike one. And so I posted on Instagram, I posted on LinkedIn. There was like 17 people from Nike at very senior levels who followed me and hit me up after that. Not necessarily to do that campaign, but they're like listening, right? They're getting tagged in things, they're seeing things, so on. I posted this on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn. A ton of people at Winnebago were tagged in this. Like there was nothing. There was just like silence. And so there were like, I think someone DM'd me and was like, hey, I've worked with the team before. I've worked with their agency. They're just like, they're not a very like socially online brand. And I think there's this element of like large companies that have legacy brands that like still tend to do pretty well. There's not a reason to go take that like risk unless it's really spearheaded by someone in senior leadership. And again, we talked about this idea before. There's probably people individually who are like, hey, we should do something. We should do something about this. We should do something about this. But like the reality of working at a corporation like that is like most people just don't want to get fired, right?
Yeah.
There's like very little upside to like pushing for a big swing. Like, hey, we got to revitalize the youth on this thing, right?
So let's call private equity. Let's have Jordan open the black book. Ashwinn go down to FIDI. And let's PE fucking Winnebago. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna put Eagles on the side. We're gonna do the map.
Brand van, baby.
We're gonna spec this shit, brother.
Brand Brothers American Tour.
That's right.
Yes, the BB spec.
Let us know where we should stop by. I just want to, nothing fires people up more at a corporation than getting beat. Well, at least at Nike. If you wanted to get a project pushed over the top, just show executives how Adidas is doing something better than us. And I would start this deck here with, actually, y'all, you think about a Winnebago consumer is really old. Look at all these images. There's not a single old person in any of these images.
Wow.
So Sprinter van is also, Sprinter has taken their rightful throne, the market that they should be owning. And Sprinter van and Mercedes, that German company from over there, has come in to take their market share. There should be a riot. There should be a riot within Winnebago. This is American rite of passage, and we should take this back.
There's the pitch. We got to send that clip to the Winnebago CMO.
Send that clip. That's the clip right there. I also want to know what their average, the average age of their consumer is, because the fear when I'm looking at Winnebago is like they might be heading the same direction as Harley Davidson. You know what I mean? Their average. True. Harley's average, age consumer is 60, which means
we bring back Harley Davidson in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? We could bring white and Latino culture together like never before with a Harley Davidson revitalization.
Harley Davidson should be partnering with Don Toliver right now. He just did a whole album around.
Oh, we could bring all cultures together. Fuck it. Yeah.
I'm just like, this is easy work.
Hey, Harley Davidson, I think, is going electric a little. They're trying to bring themselves into the mainstream. Valuable Studios collab win, Oren.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this company split off. I think this company split off. I think it's a whole separate entity from them now.
Knowing we're coming to the end, and what Jordan said there, I want to speed round here at the end. But Jordan was saying, like, Nike takes it personally. We show up in Adidas doing something better. All right, so if you're your guys today, you wake up, you're a Nike executives, your stock is tanked, 20% down, your retirement funds are gone, your kids are asking you what you're doing with your life, and you're like, all right, we got to change. We got to make moves right now. We're getting the group together. We're doing an offsite at Amangiri. How are we going to change this? What are y'all doing? What ideas are you putting into work in the kitchen?
Honestly,
I have one idea.
You have one?
Hey, let's go.
What is it?
John Don got to go.
Well, of course, that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, he'll be gone any day now, I think. But I would actually ask Ashwinn. Like we're deep in this.
We're speed rounding. That's why I want to get the whole set of opinions. So
Ashwinn, what are you doing?
Jordan,
you know what I'm doing. I'm doing the Still Doing It campaign. I'm doing a campaign with
but we're still doing it. Actually, that's fire. That's a good. That
what Bandit is doing.
I like it.
That also targets the stock buying consumer, right? Like who else is like buying Nike like on the from their Charles Schwab?
And old people are in. I mean, New Balance has done like a really good job with this, right? Like they feature elderly people in their ads, and like they do it in a classy way. It's like they have that classic slogan, like worn by supermodels and dads in Ohio. They do a great job with it. I think there's a lot of fun they could have with that.
So we're doing AARP sponsorships?
Absolutely.
I'm down, baby. I'm down.
Bring the Nike Winnebago truck, hit their core demo.
There is I sent you guys the Nike Winnebago truck, but we could bring it back. Look, what I would do, similar to Under Armour, I would go back to what actually made them great. I think Nike has lost the plot, and they're trying to serve everyone, as they've tried to figure out to try to go how to serve women and try to serve Gen Z. They've really softened their message. Under Armour has suffered from this most, and I think that's what I'm going to do my YouTube video on this weekend. Be who you are. Like Eugene Trial, you want to excuse my language, sorry. You want to crush people. You want to dominate the competition. You need to lean into that DNA and not this like bright stuff of like running is for everyone. Come try it and whatever. I know you got to sell sneakers that way, but the way you reignite your brand is by visceral, emotional storytelling. And I think they just need to like lean back into that where they've gone away from it.
I have a 5-point plan. I'm going to save that for a different. We'll save that for a different chat. We can leave with the Nike 5-point plan. But man, like it's time they went on some M&A. It's time they invested in experiences. How is the luxury gym experiences of the U.S. not owned by them? How's Alo Yoga have a better presence for actual in real life than what Nike does? Anyway, but I know we're at time. So we can if you guys have topics, we can drop them in comments for next week. We can kind of push that back to it. Anything you guys want to shout out? Anything you guys got to plug?
I just want to plug like all the people that are supporting us right now. We're at 1100 live right now in this very moment. Shout out to y'all for pulling up and joining in this conversation. We only get better with the information that y'all share, the feedback. This is a conversation. So I just want to shout out everybody for tuning in on their Friday. They could be doing anything else right now.
That's right. And if you think other people would like this, share it afterwards. It'll be available on YouTube. I'm doing a YouTube video this weekend. I know Oren's ramping up YouTube, so like, comment,
every weekend.
subscribe.
Let's go.
That's right. What else?
Ashwin's dropping his Sunday too. I heard. You doing it, brother?
We're getting
pressure's on.
This is Ashwinn and I's YouTube with y'all.
Yeah, right. Okay. We'll be back next week. Y'all let us know what else you want to hear about. We'll
DM us with ideas, questions, comments, etc.
Yeah. You feel free to beam up on the free console offer from last week. It's still there.
Lord.
And,
oh my gosh. And thanks so much to Tim from Bandit who joined us. Really appreciate it. Y'all go check them out. Gmo, everybody in the comments, thank you. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys.
We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.